Greetings from Las Vegas, and welcome to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with you on a Friday night. Glad to be representing EOG. The three letters stand for Ion Gaming. EOG.com, a website dedicated to the hearts and minds of sports bettors everywhere. And the big buzz in the main forum tonight is that New Jersey Governor Chris Christie today signed legislation that partially repeals the state's sports betting prohibitions and clears the way for casinos and racetracks in New Jersey to begin taking bets as early as next weekend. How do you like that news? Monmouth Park is already on record saying they'll start betting Sunday, October 26th. That features Week 8 in the National Football League. And if Monmouth Park is accepting the wagers, it's William Hill. It'll be the company that's handling their sports betting operations. EOG contributor Mr. Top has been following this story for the past couple of years, and he always thought New Jersey would eventually clear the way for legalized sports betting in the state. Mr. Top writes at EOG.com tonight that if the Meadowlands gets involved with offering sports betting, that the former Cantor Gaming, now known as CG Technologies, they'll be the Meadowlands agent. And our featured guest on tonight's program is Matt Hatfield, a.k.a. Railbird. Birdie, I'm sure you have some opinions on sports betting coming to the state of New Jersey. Christie cleared the way. Do you think this will be a reality, or do you think at some point in time the leagues will step in and try to stop the action?
Well, I know the leagues were a big opponent of it maybe 10, 15 years ago, but they promoted their fantasy sports, which is kind of, I guess, is okay in their opinion because it promotes their league. But I don't think they have the pull they did. Where I think these states are hurting for money. New Jersey, I think, is in trouble financially, and I think Christie's the front runner for. He's the one guy that can beat Hillary. I think he could do better than Romney if he gets a Republican if he decides to run. But I guess it's cool for the people in Bergen County and Jersey. It gives them a place to bet instead of a local bookmaker.
And why not? Let's clear the way in terms of freedoms. I mean, this country was based on freedoms, and it irks me anytime politicians get in the way of doing what we want to do. Allow us to do what we want to do. That's why they're there, is to give us the freedoms that other countries enjoy. And we're in the dark ages, Birdie, in terms of the U.S. Normally, we're leading the way in a lot of fronts, but it really upsets me when a Canadian has access to an offshore sports book like Pinnacle and an American does not.
I think part of that was the Vegas lobby. I know. I think they were the big opponent against poker. That they decided that they wanted the poker, and I think they were throwing money. I think Harry Reid had something to do with the anti-gambling, anti-internet gambling. But I guess it's for taxes. I'm not sure for us if we want it underground or above ground. It depends, but. It's interesting that New Jersey's finally getting now. Now, is this official, John? This starts when?
This starts on Sunday, October 26th. That's Monmouth Park's plans anyway. We'll see if the leagues file an injunction to try and stop the action. Is
this going to be college football, college sports, or just pro sports?
As I understand it, full-blown sports betting, both pro and college. So, and if William Hill's involved, well, I'll be eager to see if the betting menu they offer in Nevada is copied there in New Jersey. It should be.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see start betting college basketball with those people.
It'd be great, and I like anything that promotes legalized sports betting. You mentioned underground sports betting. I think they'll always thrive, Birdie. I think this will be a case where what's ever offered in the states on a legal front that better deals will be offered elsewhere. I think the other sports books, the ones that the international sports betting accounts that are offered, will always be there.
I'd prefer Pinnacle get a New Jersey account instead of Cantor or William Hill, someone who actually gives you more options to wager on and reduce juice and so forth.
Yeah, the one thing that'll be tricky is the tax situation because, with when governments step in and try to run things, in one respect, I'm glad they passed off the people who are experienced, like William Hill and Cantor. But there probably are better options. As you said, some of the offshore sportsbook operations are run so beautifully. Pinnacle especially. Chris is so trusted. I like the ones that are, that have the tremendous respect in the offshore sports betting world and have stood the test of time. They have better models out there than what's offered in Nevada. Although I will say in Nevada, you can still get a bargain here and there. You lay 11 to 10 on sides, but you can lay $1.05 if you shop around every Thursday. Westgate, they offer $1.05 wagering on the NFL. So, and in terms of other gambles, Birdie, sports betting is a fair shake when I think of the takeout at the racetrack, the lotteries that are run by the state governments around the country. They're a joke. Bingo or Keno that's offered, nobody has it as good as sports bettors when it comes to games of skill. Sports betting has done a good job keeping the margins low.
Well, I know I was at the Olympics in Australia and Sydney, and they had NFL wagering, I think, but they had, it was like you had to lay 10 to win 8.5. So I think it was like $1.17 you had to lay. They didn't use American odds. They had like European odds. So I know they had that in the year 2000. You could actually bet on the NFL. But I would be surprised now. Is New Jersey going to have 11 to 10, or are they going to have? Is this going to be more than that?
Oh, I'm assuming 11 to 10 again. If William Hill's involved, I'm crossing my fingers they hold the line at 11 to 10. If not, boy, that's a different ball game. That's where the offshores are beautiful counterbalances to what's being offered in the States. Birdie, is that the offshores will always keep the prices competitive. To have an advantage with what's offered in the States.
Yeah, and if New Jersey, I guess they get the ball rolling, get New Jersey in there, maybe other states could follow.
I like the aspect of parimutuel sports betting, Birdie. Right now, we don't see much of that, but years ago here in Nevada, they had a brand called Mega Sports, and Leroy's and Vic Salerno, they were the driving force behind Mega Sports. Never really took off, but I love that concept of parimutuel sports betting, where there's one big fat pool, and then the odds are determined by what bets are taken into the pool. Oftentimes that doesn't work because the pools are too small, but if you were to get national sports betting with a parimutuel slant, that would be gorgeous.
Yeah, I know we do that offshore with Betfair has that, and then there's another one. My recall's not very good, but there was another company that was pretty.
Matchbook.
Matchbook, yeah, right. Matchbook did that, and I know that's pretty popular amongst some people. I think they stopped taking Americans recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that open trading where you ask for a bet, and if it's matched, you're good to go, and you keep the margins low. I love that concept, and it works for the house too. If the handle's big enough, they can really earn on that huge churn, and that's what we're seeing a lot of these days in sports betting. Birdie, is the churn is so good. It's not just making a bet anymore, sitting down before game time and watching it for 3 hours. Now with live wagering options, the halftime money that's available, all the games that are available, they're getting a little more aggressive in terms of the number of games they're posting. I saw NBA preseason action on the board tonight, sides and totals. The college football menu seemed increased in the month of September for sure. More teams are coming on the board. It seems like the sportsbooks are keeping up with the times in terms of betting options.
Well, I would like to see them put up for some political elections, presidential elections. I think that was they had the biggest take on Betfair or Matchbook, one of those. I think it was second to the Super Bowl and amongst independent events. So why can't Las Vegas have the presidential elections?
They should, and I believe sportsbooks now can appeal Nevada gaming to get involved with those type of wagers, but I think the word laziness comes to mind. A lot of times, the sportsbook operations won't go that extra mile to do what they should do, and instead they're interested in posting Academy Award odds that are for entertainment purposes only. I find that silly. They try to promote through phony odds, and who needs that? No, you're right.
Now is Planet Hollywood? Do they still want? Do you still need a hotel key to bet the sports book there?
I haven't been there in a while, but I have heard that Caesars. It's a Caesars book. A lot of the sports books on the Strip, Birdie, it's either Caesars or MGM Mirage, one or the other, and a lot of times their offerings aren't as attractive as some you would find elsewhere, whether it's Stations or Coast or William Hill or Cantor.
Right. Yeah, it's exciting that are spreading out. Now this is going to be this is the race. I guess this is the racetracks. It's not at 7-Eleven like they have in Australia.
Not yet, but that's the goal, I would think. Any 7-Eleven or AM/PM mini mart you go to, any place you could buy a lottery ticket, Birdie, I would hope you could also make a sports wager. That should be the goal. Have these states be aggressive. They've got the lotteries in place already, so why not just that extra kiosk and maybe that's the trick, though. If you put it under the arm of the government and the lottery, they've got to have private business come in and handle these operations, because anytime the government runs anything, Birdie, it seems that the takeout is high, the cost is high, and the service is low. It's amazing. It's more expensive when the government runs something, and the service is less than what we'd see in the private sector.
Oh, yeah, if you go to the DMV, you'll find that out. It takes 3 hours to get out of there.
The post office is the same.
Yeah, post office.
Maybe not 3 hours, but the service is, you've got to get the FedExes involved as opposed to the U.S. Postal Service.
Right, yeah. You want the private sector involved.
Maybe what's key, too, is instead of the stale names like William Hill or Cantor, even though they're new to American sports betting, open it up to creative enterprises, well-financed companies that are aggressive, whether it's on the stock market and they have financial experience there, or in the sports betting world.
Open it up. Yeah, why have it monopolized? Why have a bidding contest? Have more than one company.
Yeah, and a true open market. Where if you put up the cash, now you can either be a bettor or a bookmaker. You can take the action too, or that'd be the beauty of it. And keep everything above board. You want transparency. That, I think, is the key. We have seen in recent months some of the leagues lessen their stance on the strictness of what they like to offer. And the NBA's new commissioner, Adam Silver, went on record saying that he envisions the NBA partnering with gambling at some point in time.
Oh, yeah, it's the opposite of what David Stern had in mind. David Stern vetoed every gambling proposal there was. It also, yeah.
It was on his watch, too, Birdie, where the Tim Donaghy scandal surfaced. Shame on Stern for that. Although I will say one thing on Stern's behalf, the damage control was beautiful. I mean, he did a magnificent job of sweeping that under the carpet and really pointing out early in the process that Donaghy was the rogue ref and that he acted alone.
Well, yeah, that's. I think he manipulated more. I think David Stern manipulated way more games than Donaghy did. That's my opinion.
Who can forget the famous quote of David Stern when they asked him who he'd like to see in the NBA Finals? I want to say it was in the late 2000s when Kobe and Shaq were going great guns. David Stern responded that his dream matchup in the NBA Finals that season would be the Lakers versus the Lakers. He knew how much the Lakers meant to his television ratings, how much they meant to the corporate sponsors, the eyeballs on the television sets, and of course, the money that's generated worldwide too. Give Stern credit for the internet nationalization, if you will, of the game. Taking the game international, and he did a lot of good things. David Stern.
Yeah, he put his refs on the Laker games. I mean, Sacramento had them beat, and he whoever appoints the refs, I'm sure it was at his command, but they made sure the Lakers got in there. Kobe'd run people over, and they'd call blocking calls. They got their way more than one. The Portland game was manipulated when they beat Portland in the Game 7. But
and Donaghy was able to hold on to that storyline, too. That was his out. That was Tim Donaghy's defense. If Stern was pointing a finger at him, calling him a rogue ref, then Donaghy responded by saying the league set up various situations. And shame on the league, shame on the NBA for being so fast and loose with their situations in that respect, and not really calling a fair game, having bias in the officiating, that they were open to that type of criticism.
Right, I see it at every level. In college, high school, there's a lot of favoritism. The popular teams, the darling teams. If a conference needs a second team in, they'll get whistled in. If their number one team needs a winner, a call or two, they'll get it. But the NBA is no different. So I think basketball is the worst because of so many judgment calls. It's so much in the officials' hands. Now getting to the World Series, I think that the ball strike calls have been so bad lately that we need to go to what tennis did and go to a laser and just get rid of the home plate umpires, because they've screwed the whole postseason up with the balls and strikes. So many they miss.
I know you were complaining last Friday night about Tim Timmons' work behind the plate. Right now we've got the Royals and Giants. Certainly there was no conspiracy in those two getting to the World Series, though, Birdie, because of Fox Television. They've got to be disappointed in the matchup. The Royals not only winning, but they're not losing. 8 wins in 8 games. And I can't believe Fox, the network executives, are happy to have the Royals there in the World Series. They're not going to bring too much interest to Tuesday's Game 1 at Kauffman Stadium. Their opponent, the San Francisco Giants, 8-2 in the postseason. Birdie, these two teams are a lot alike, the Royals and Giants. In fact, Kansas City reminds me a little bit of a National League team, the way they play, run at a time, a great bullpen at the end. Matchup has Ned Yost against Bruce Bochy. Bochy getting a lot of love for his work in San Francisco as the Giants are looking for their 3rd World Series title in the past 5 years. While some are saying Ned Yost, that the Royals are overcoming some of Yost's moves. Royals are in search of their 1st World Series title in 29 years. Your thoughts on the Royals and Giants?
Well, the Royals remind me of the 1990 Reds, where you just get to the 6th inning, their bullpen comes in and blows you away.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have that going for them, and then I love their starting pitching. They have the Ventura throws like 98, 99, and then Duffy. So they didn't really use Duffy. I love him too, but he doesn't seem to be used a whole lot. And then the other guy, Shields, big game Shields, is good. And I think they've had a nice draw. Their toughest game was the A's, who I thought was the best team. And then, the Angels they were drawn dead at the end of the year with their injuries, and their pitching staff was depleted. And then the Orioles don't have great pitching either. And now they drew the Giants, who's probably like the 4th or 5th best team in the National League. So it's all coming together for the Royals. You
mentioned the Kansas City bullpen. It's been the story of their Royals season, I think. Biggest strength of the squad is that trio of Herrera, Davis, and Holland. At the end, Kansas City this season 65-4 when leading after 6 innings in the regular season. It gets late early in Kansas City games. Of course, Bruce Bochy knows that well. Moves that might have waited until the 7th or 8th innings in the regular season, they happen now in the 5th and 6th innings, and I would argue move them up to the 3rd and 4th. If it's do-or-die situations, why not play that Kansas City style where one run could be the difference in a game? And I see this as a low-scoring, closely knit competition. Kansas City and San Francisco, Birdie, they played 3 times during the regular season. They met in August at Kauffman Stadium. Kansas City swept San Francisco, beating Bumgarner, Hudson, and Lincecum on consecutive nights. Meaningful or meaningless that Kansas City and San Francisco played in August, where the Royals scored 5 runs a game, 5.3 runs per game in that 3-game series, and stole 8 bases in the series.
I think it means something. I know most people won't agree, but if they know they've already seen them, so they're not intimidated. They're a little bit familiar, and they got 5 off on Baumgartner's pitching pretty well right now. I don't know if they could do that again, but the Giants. I thought they fell apart at the end of the year. I'm surprised they made it this far, but I could see the Royals be the first team to win. I think they already set the record with 8 in a row, so 12 in a row wouldn't surprise me. And just like I said, they've had the dream draw, and they're peaking. They steal bases, and the pitching's off the charts, and their hitting's not bad. I don't know how they only won. How many games they won in the regular season?
It's a good question. Less than 90, I know that. They were obviously the 5th team in from the American League. They were on the road in that wild card shootout. I'll be able to look it up here in a minute. The Giants. Not this past year, but the year before, they really struggled. I want to say 76 and 86 were the Giants in 2013. They've been an every other year kind of team, winning the World Series in 2010, 2012, and now attempting to get the job in 2014, attempting to get the job done. My producer, Lawrence Lazarte, tells me that Royals this year were 89 and 73.
89 89 and 73. Now, I think if Vegas had odds right now for next year, say something happened, like there's a volcano and they postponed the World Series, I think they would be the odds-on favorite to win it next year, because if they kept their team intact and they didn't lose anybody. I think they're the best team. I mean, it's not a fluke, I don't think. I think they have the best team in baseball, from what I could tell.
Now, you're talking about the Royals?
Right.
Birdie loves hyperbole, doesn't he? He exaggerates to make a point. I have to disagree. I mean, in fact, if you ran the postseason again, Birdie, I don't think what happened happens again. I mean, to have the Royals and Giants arrive here, but it's a difference of opinion.
I think the Royals would make it, maybe not the Giants, but I definitely think the Royals would be back. I mean, they're 8-0. They're clearly the best team.
Yeah, there's such a fine line, though, Birdie, between winning and losing in these games. It's like it's one play oftentimes makes the difference. Royals are 4-0 in one-run games, so I will agree but remember they were down 7-3 in the 8th inning to Oakland, Birdie. They might not even, they might not have made the postseason proper, if you will. Some could say, I could argue they were lucky to be here.
Right now, that was a game that I think the umpires helped them. So, I mean, you could say that would be the one team you could argue was better than them was the A's. But I think the Royals have improved since then.
Playing with confidence, that's for sure.
Right.
And so the math guys say that momentum doesn't mean anything in baseball. Momentum's the next day's starting pitcher. I would argue that there is a confidence factor. It might be a matter of semantics, momentum and confidence. But boy, one thing's for sure: the Royals come to the ballpark thinking they're going to win, and I will credit them in terms of identity too. They know who they are. They don't play outside their talent levels. They know that if they're up 2-1 in the 5th or 6th inning, they've got a big chance to win.
Right, yeah. Joe Torre said that in 1996. Once you win, you have momentum. So if you have a one-game winning streak, you now have momentum.
We'll step aside, take a quick timeout right here. We'll ask Railbird about momentum in terms of handicapping selections. He has not been too good on our Friday night head-to-head showdowns after at one point in time winning 12 straight showdowns. He was 1-6 last Friday night. That's uncharacteristic for Birdie. He does have a lot of things going on in his private life. We covered those on last week's show. This week we'll focus on his selections in the Hilton SuperContest, where currently one of his 2 entries is 18-12 from 30 plays. That's solid. That's 60%. We'll ask him his 5 Hilton plays for this week. Plus, he's got a college football selection for us as well. You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour.
There's no such thing as a sure thing, unless you're talking about Ion Gaming. Ion Gaming is a website dedicated to the hearts and minds of sports bettors everywhere. If you're looking for smart, sophisticated sports handicapping information and insight,
go to EOG.com.
If you're looking for the latest news on the ever-changing landscape of Nevada's race and sportsbook industry,
go to EOG.com.
If you're looking for the most recent developments involving the worldwide sports betting scene with an emphasis on the leading sports books in San Jose, Costa Rica,
go to EOG.com.
And finally, if you're looking to join an online community of sports gamblers where registration is free and the information is priceless,
go to EOG.com.
You get the idea. Why gamble on other sports betting websites when Ion Gaming is a sure thing?
And I love a sure thing.
Hi, this is Rick Alec, president of Sports Options. Sports Options is a sports information tool designed to give sports bettors of all types the necessary edge needed to improve their bottom line. With Sports Options, you'll never lay a bad number again. We provide you with live odds from the leading sports books in the world, from Costa Rica to Curacao, London to Las Vegas, and everywhere in between. Sports Options also provides the fastest and most accurate injury information, lightning-quick score updates, and game analysis from 30-year handicapping veteran Mark Simons. We offer affordable services for players of all levels, starting at just $99 per month. To see which service best fits your needs, you can take advantage of our 7-day free trial. No credit card is needed. Just go to www.sportsoptions.com and click on the free trial link. I'm confident you'll be impressed with our product, and you'll find it the most complete and comprehensive on the market. In fact, if you don't like Sports Options after 30 days, we'll refund you 100% of your subscription costs, no questions asked. Go to sportsoptions.com for all the details, or call 702-835-1743, and one of our friendly customer service representatives will be happy to help you. Sports Options, information you can bet on.
You're the best.
And we are back. The EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with Matt Hatfield, a.k.a. Railbird. It's a Friday night. No head-to-head competition this week. We'll resume those competitions next week. I hope to recruit guys like Ed the Statman, EOG contributor Sleepy. Ron Boyle's always up for a head-to-head matchup. Mike Corrigan is too. Railbird to resume those head-to-head Friday night handicapping showdowns next week. College football tonight. Boise State defeated Fresno State 37-27. Houston over Temple 31-10. In that game, stayed under the total despite Houston scoring 31 points. Our friend Generous Jay last Tuesday night in his head-to-head matchup with Alan Dinkinson liked under the total. He got a number of 50. I saw 53s late in the betting cycle, so I didn't get the best of the number, but did get the right result, and that's what matters when it comes to sports betting in terms of getting paid or having to pay. Generous Jay, in his 7-game competition with Alan Dinkinson, now heads into Saturday's action a perfect 3-0, so he's off to a flying start. Dink will have to play Silky Sullivan and come from behind. He's really up against it, though, in the competition, because they did have 2 like selections, too. That'll hurt Dink in this head-to-head showdown with Generous Jay. But Birdie, you told me you'll be ready to go next Friday night.
Yeah, I'll be ready. I'll be ready. I have had some things going on this week and so forth, but yeah, bring it on next week. Hopefully, I can beat some snap this losing streak I'm in.
So far, so good in the Hilton SuperContest. Or I guess it's the Westgate SuperContest. You'll have 5 selections this week. You're going to relay to us those 5 plays. I've got you at 18-12 under the handle Railbird Sports. Yeah,
that's right. That's 60%. I think that was the same record I had the time I came in third. It was 18-12, and I went on to a 55-30 record to capture third place. I don't know if that'll be good enough for third this year with 1,400 entries.
What year was it, and how much did you win?
That was like $20,000. It was I don't know, more than 10 years ago. I don't remember the exact year, but it's been a while. But yeah, I think the favorites are winning this year. So I know last year, I think Computer Bob posted that the lead was at 21-8-1 last year. This year, the leader is at 26-4, which is like the best ever at 26-4. He has a 2-game lead. Alcatraz Holdings, but I think I could make some headway. Some 3-2s, 4-1s. Our friend Robert Gary Ravdale used to say a 3-2 is a par, 4-1's a birdie. I need some more birdies going the rest of the way. I like that analogy. I like Robert, too. He's a clever guy. And I've got an analogy. Tell me what you think about this, about what's happening in the main forum at Ion Gaming. It's a landscaping analogy. I mentioned to our forum members that on September 1st, we would be starting a fresh start at EOG. So I'm telling everyone, Birdie, that we cut the grass in September. We're going to pull the weeds this month in October, and then we're going to start to water the flowers in November and December. The good guys are going to be promoted. Forget about the goofballs and knuckleheads. Oh, there's less knuckleheads than ever before. I don't know how you did that, John. You pulled it off somehow, but I think those guys, I thought we were going to miss. King Revolver and Tripp are great guys and good posters. I thought we were going to miss them, but I think it's better than we ever had before. The content and the content's better than it ever has before. There's less of the junior high type posts. Yeah, it's the deep end now. Forget about the kiddie pool. And what's tough, Birdie, and one thing I didn't understand about the internet world when I got involved about 5 or 6 years ago with Ion Gaming is the amount of trolling that goes on. The haters. It's amazing the number of people who hate. And I just wasn't into that world. I mean, I was raised, if you don't have something nice to say about someone, don't say it. And I don't believe that fully. I mean, I like the truth. I like to be a respectful skeptic. That's what I learned at Northwestern University. That's the definition of a journalist, be a respectful skeptic. But the problem with the internet world, guys hide behind the keyboard, say whatever they want, and a lot of it is trashing other people. And we know in this exercise, Birdie, gambling is tough. We have enough opponents as is. Think of what we're going up against: the government, the IRS, law enforcement agencies, gaming, the bookmakers. That's a tough opponent. Our fellow players are opponents in certain respects when we're searching for good numbers, trying to beat out our fellow gamblers to the number. We don't need any more hater opposition than there already is. Right. It's an uphill deal as is. So yeah, just make it. I mean, we could disagree, but disagree respectfully. Don't attack the post. Attack the idea. I mean, instead of attacking the individual poster. And it's the Jerry Springer generation. Not everyone went to Northwestern like you did, unfortunately. But
and sad to say, I think Springer did too. Unfortunately, I don't think we make it. Northwestern grads don't like the fact that Springer graduated from Northwestern.
Oh, that's funny. How ironic. Yeah.
And a mayor in Cincinnati, I think at one time, was he a mayor of a relatively big city?
Yeah, I mean that's a bad commentary on Cincinnati. That's true.
And politics in general. It shows that guys get through the cracks too, and those are the leaders. But you do have to give Springer credit in one respect. Birdie, the bank account is fat.
Yeah, but he doesn't help society in this show. I mean, my mom's roommate at the hospital had Jerry Springer on, or Maury Povich, or whatever the trash is. I think that should almost be illegal to have those type of shows on. It doesn't help people in any way.
How about TMZ? That's the going great guns these days. Do you like the concept of TMZ? Is it Harvey Levin? I think is the man behind that.
Harvey Levin. TMZ Sports is kind of interesting. I like when they have breaking news. You could maybe catch this bookmaker sleeping.
TMZ Sports.
Right. At TMZ Sports, I follow a little bit. I have it on my Twitter feed in case something pops up.
I'm sure they were on the story today. The NFL, it's the biggest story in football today. Percy Harvin traded from Seattle to the New York Jets. What do you make of the Seahawks bad boy going elsewhere? He was in Minnesota and then was traded to Seattle and then now traded to the New York Jets. Harvin, they say, has gone from being a headache to maybe a cancer in the locker room in Seattle.
Right. I guess he has a habit of being in disagreements and fights with his teammates. And he's just, he's very injury prone, and he's an expensive player. So, Coach Carroll's an upbeat guy, and he's sort of a downer. He got in a fight with Russell Wilson, or our argument in Golden State last year. I think Jimmy Hoffa covered that in the forum. And he's a really talented player, but I guess he wasn't worth the headache. So, the Seahawks, sometimes less is more.
Birdie, go ahead.
I think he'll help the Jets, though. I mean, the Jets they need a lot of help offensively. So
yeah, one thing he'll do with the Jets is at least he'll give Geno Smith another weapon so they can grade Geno a little quicker. It's not so much about wins and losses this year for the 1-6 Jets, but now it's about grading the personnel, seeing what they have so they can move forward with decisions.
Yeah. So for the Jets are a mess. So I mean, that's the first thing they were said was that the New York. So he'll help spread the field. Lining up wide and kick returns, but the Seahawks will be okay. I think they'll be back in the Super Bowl. So I think although the refs they were mugged their receivers were being mugged that whole fourth quarter against the Cowboys. And I don't know why they were able to get away with that.
Cowboys with the biggest win of the 2014 NFL season. It's hard to win at Seattle, but that looks like the most impressive win going right now. And I agree with you about Seattle's long-term prospects. I think what happens too many times, the mainstream media, the overreaction of 1 week's results. I think the Seahawks, I think their best game is really good. And let's not forget how they bombed Denver in the Super Bowl. They didn't win by this much. They won by that much, and they won by a big margin. And for that, you have to give them credit. And they're not a team, Birdie, who's built on getting big margins. They're a ground and pound team, that takes threes and scores sevens, and they don't allow a lot. So for them to do what they did against Denver was super impressive.
Well, they have a very good quarterback who rushes for 120 yards. Some games he runs more. I think he leads the league in rushing for quarterbacks every week, and then. Defensively, their front seven's outstanding, and their secondary is good too. Their pass rushing is a little down this year. They need to put a little more pressure on quarterbacks. But Coach Pete's very good defensive coach, and I think they'll be back in January. Yeah,
that dual threat Russell Wilson really is the star of the squad, and he's getting better all the time, too, as he gets more experience, but his decision-making is outstanding. And I don't think there's a play in football that is more devastating to a team's defense, Birdie, than when the quarterback takes off on third down and gains a first down. I know for me, watching the games, it's always frustrating when an opposing quarterback has that quality and performs that move. But boy, that is a backbreaker when you're one play away from getting off the field. You got the guy in the pocket. Now he somehow squirts loose. No one's open downfield, but he takes off.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Even in the college level, when you have a bet against the quarterback and everyone's covered, and you know 3rd and 8, and he runs to the first down by a foot. I hate that.
and they do it by a foot too, oftentimes to the sideline, or they slide. They know where the sticks are. It is a back-breaking play. Birdie, Week 7 in the National Football League. Did you like the card? We'll run down all the games and ask Birdie for his 5 Westgate selections. But how confident are you right now with the NFL product?
Well, I love the card this week, John. I mean, it's had a hard time. Literally, I have like 3 or 4 plays. I have to try to find 2 more that I don't really like that I have to play. But this week, I kind of liked 8 or 9. I was trying to figure out which ones I liked the most.
Let's find out which 5 plays Birdie submitted in the Westgate SuperContest. Top game on the card, Birdie, Indianapolis home to Cincinnati. At Chris right now, the Colts are -3, -$1.20. The total is 49. It's Andrew Luck against Andy Dalton.
I think the Colts defense is terrible, and you know Indianapolis's line play's been pretty solid. Cincinnati's supposed to be a blitz team, but Romeo Crennel was unprepared last week for the Patriots. I like Dalton. I like what Dalton does, but I think A.J. Green's out. I wanted to take the Bengals, but I can't find enough reasons to. Maybe if it gets to 3.5 somewhere, I can find a 3.5. This is the one game I don't really like that much, and the Colts are overrated in my opinion. I think their power rating. You know, if you look at the Gold Sheet power rating, I think it's probably 2 or 3 points higher than it should be. But the Bengals, I think, are also overrated. So you have 2 overrated teams playing each other. So I'm going to pass on that game. If I had to, I think I'd look for a reason to take the Bengals, though.
Washington home to Tennessee. The Redskins -6, -$1.15. The total is 45.5.
Right. This one, I think. Locker's been dinged up. He's got a bad thumb, so that's a really bad injury. You think of a different injury, but the thumb for a quarterback is a terrible injury because he's been missing games. They weren't very good to begin with. Now, the quarterback Charlie Whitehurst. Wally pitched for the Mets, I think. But Whitehurst, he's a very inefficient quarterback. I think he's never scored. He's had like 7 starts on 3 or 4 different teams, and I don't think he's ever scored more than 14 points. I think last week was his best start. So they're still not sure who's going to be the quarterback there. And Cousins, he's hit and miss. He could be real bad at times, and I'm not a big Gruden fan. So in that game, I lean a little bit to the Redskins, and I think the steam's gone that way. But I don't like Gruden at all, and I don't like either quarterback that's playing. If Locker were healthy, maybe Tennessee would be the side, but I think Washington's the side in that one.
Miami Dolphins, they travel to the Windy City to play the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field Sunday. The Bears -3. The total on the game is 48.
I love Cutler. I love the way he plays. You know, he doesn't fear the turnover. And a lot of the turnovers aren't his fault. Now, he's throwing 50 times a game, so he's going to throw interceptions. So I think he gets a bad rap. I'm really impressed with what he does. You know, he slides in and out. And I think the Dolphins' pass rush could be a problem. I think the Bears' offense is the most efficient in the league, although the defense is shaky. But offensively, I don't like what the Dolphins are doing. I lean to the Bears in this game. I think they haven't had a home win. I think this is their first home win will be this game. I'm going to use this in the contest. The Dolphins let that game slip away last week, and they get crushed at home and lose to the Bills. So I mean, the only teams they've beaten are bad teams like the Raiders. So I think Chicago rolls in this one. The first of 5 plays in the Westgate SuperContest for Railbird Sports. The Chicago Bears minus the small spot against the Miami Dolphins. Next up, Cleveland on the road against Jacksonville. The Browns are currently 5.5. The total 45.5. Your thoughts on the Browns and winless Jags? I like what Blake Bortles has done. So far. Cleveland's defense is terrible. And I think the Jags have a chance to win this game. if they limit the turnovers. I know they're. It seems like they're improving each week. They were in that Pittsburgh game before the pick six happened, and they finally covered a game. They didn't cover their first 5 or 6 games, but they finally covered last week with a backdoor score against Tennessee. Now Cleveland's had a dream draw. They said they won at Tennessee was terrible. Pittsburgh was real bad. The Saints who were decimated with injuries. So on the road they've looked. They're a good team. They're a good home team, and Hoyer's had some good continuity at home. But on the road, Cleveland hasn't shown me anything on the road. They haven't gotten the money at home on the road. I think they got a push, depending on the line they got against Tennessee. But I don't like what their schedule, and I think their defense can be scored on. And I think Jacksonville gain a little confidence. I think 5.5 is too many. I think maybe Cleveland should be 3 in this game. So I lean to Jacksonville, although I'm not playing it.
You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with Matt Hatfield, a.k.a. Railbird. He's one of our most popular and well-known contributors at Ion Gaming. Glad that when he checks into EOG and contributes with his commentary, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, tennis, golf, he can talk all the sports. St. Louis home to Seattle, Birdie. The Seahawks on the road, 6.5-point favorites, the total 43.5.
Right, I think Coach Pete will confuse Austin Davis. Austin's, kind of keeps it simple, but Seattle, usually when they lose a player like that, they come together and play well. St. Louis has only covered 1 game this year, and Seattle, I think they were suspect on the road last year, but they won at Washington pretty easy. I lean to Seattle. I'm not playing the game, but I lean to Seattle in that one.
Green Bay is playing host to Carolina. The Packers at Chris right now, -7, -$1.05. The total 49.5. Aaron Rodgers against Cam Newton. I thought Cam looked good running the ball last week.
Right. Now Green Bay's defense, I think they're getting some of their injured players back, Clay Matthews and some other guys. That game, Carolina covered as a 7-dog last week and probably does again this week. But, Green Bay's peaking too, so they've won 3 in a row, 3 or 4 in a row. Ever since Aaron said relax, they've kind of calmed down and playing better.
That was a good tip, wasn't it? Relax, R-E-L-A-X.
Yeah.
He had 5 letters for the Green Bay faithful. And I really trust Aaron Rodgers. Something about him off the field and on the field gives me tremendous comfort. Not the case with Jay Cutler. You love Cutler for his gunslinging ways. There's something about Cutler's game I don't connect with his style. I much prefer Rodgers over Cutler.
Right, Rodgers cherishes the ball a little more than Cutler. Rodgers was, I think he's 5'11", coming out of high school, unrecruited, and he went to JUCO, and Tedford got a hold of him. So he had some good tools in college, and he's got, he keeps the ball up high, and he's got the kind of quick release. He's kind of like the Drew Brees. He held it up. Although he's getting away from that a little bit, I think it's an interesting delivery he has.
I
like his
nimbleness, yes, and his decision making, a little bit like Russell Wilson of Seattle. He makes a lot of the right moves. He was very cool too, I thought, in that game last week against Miami. Just the composure that he displayed in the final minute of that contest. And one thing about Aaron Rodgers, when he came into the NFL, Birdie, remember he dropped like a rock in the first round. It just goes to show that these NFL teams, even with the millions they invest in scouting it all, they're not always right.
Well, they didn't like that he was only, I think, 6'1". That might have scared him for whatever reason. But I forget who was drafted ahead of him that year. Do you remember?
I could look back. I want to say there's probably 3 or 4 quarterbacks that went ahead of Aaron Rodgers. But
I think he might have been the first one. Was a down year for quarterbacks. I think it was like the 23rd pick, but the first quarterback.
Oh, really? As I remember it, there were quarterbacks taken ahead of Rodgers, because I usually see a list of QBs drafted ahead of Aaron Rodgers, but I could be wrong. I'm not real good with trivia, Birdie. What usually happens with me in my research is, I'm pretty good day of game, the week of the games, handling the workload and the information, but then I erase it as we move into the next week. So our crack producer, Lawrence Lazarde, he's on the lookout for the Aaron Rodgers draft. But I do remember the long face, and long in more ways than one, for Aaron Rodgers. He's got that horse face, the long face that Aaron Rodgers displayed in that NFL draft. And the cameras were following him around too, as I recall. Next in the rotation, Baltimore is home to Atlanta, Railbird. The Ravens 6.5, the total at 50.
Yeah, I think Atlanta they're in disarray. They have some chemistry problems. I think the coach is about to get fired. The owner's unhappy. They can't defend at all. And, Ravens got some mojo going. So I also use the Ravens in my contest. I think they could get it done 6.5 cheapest. I see 7s popping up most places.
Next, and we've got the answer. Alex Smith. I should have known that because the Packers played the 49ers. Remember when Smith and Rodgers faced one another, did they not, in a recent game?
Yeah, I know his high school teammate, Reggie Bush, they came 1-2 in I think the Heisman voting that year. Smith was the number one overall take that draft when Aaron Rodgers was taken late in the first round. Out of Utah. Mm-hmm. He's a Helix Highlander. Minnesota Buffalo. I think Bridgewater's going to be in trouble. He's not ready. I think he went in that game and the team wasn't prepared for him. Now you could prepare for him. He hasn't shown me anything, and the media kind of hyped him up because they want him to succeed. Now Buffalo's defense is pretty good. I'm not a fan of Buffalo's quarterback play either, but I think Buffalo gets the money in that game.
Next up is Detroit, New Orleans. We'll get to that game in a moment. The game I was thinking of this year, Alex Smith against his former team. It wasn't against it wasn't against Aaron Rodgers. It was against San Francisco, KC San Francisco, when Alex Smith went in to play the San Francisco 49ers. News was out about Alex Smith, being the number one overall pick and being a draft choice of the San Francisco 49ers, now playing for the Chiefs, of course.
Well, he played with Urban Meyer in college. That helped him.
Yes, he did, and had to overcome Mike Sanford as the offensive coordinator, if I remember correctly. Sanford later came to UNLV as the head coach, and now Sanford, I believe, is calling the plays offensive coordinator for Boise State, a team that won but did not cover tonight. Detroit Birdie home to New Orleans. The Lions -2.5. The total is 47.
Right, I like the Lions in that game. The Saints are a mess on both sides of the ball. They had the Robinson. Is struggling. I like Detroit. I like their defense. I think the number one defense in the NFL with yards allowed per game is Detroit Lions. They have a big time pass rush, and I think Stafford's improved. He had a improved off season. So I would say Detroit, even though Reggie Bush is out in this game and their number one receiver's out, I still like Detroit. I think New Orleans is a total fraud. So I'm going with Detroit in this one.
San Diego is home to Kansas City, playing at Qualcomm Stadium Sunday afternoon. San Diego -4, -1.15 right now at Chris. The total is 45. Earlier in the week, we saw 4.5s on this game. Our friends Alan Dinkinson and Generous Jay both landed on the Chiefs +4.5. Shawnee Mack on Wednesday night said, put me down for the Chiefs +4. He even leaked the Chiefs at the reduced number. What about you, Birdie? Chargers or Chiefs?
The Chargers have so many injuries. I think they're out of running backs. I think their last running back got a concussion last week. And it's a homecoming game for Alex Smith. Like I said, it was a Helix Highlander, so it's a homecoming game for him. And the Chargers look a total mash unit. They're 5-1, but the teams they've beaten are all terrible. The Raiders, Jacksonville. They beat a couple other cupcakes. But anyway, they beat like 4 rookie quarterbacks, I think. Something like that.
You put a lot of stock in going back and looking at the slate with new information that's now available. I like that angle, Birdie. Really seeing not just the one-loss record, but how it was accomplished in what manner and against whom.
Right. Yeah, I like to use that in all sports. So you go back and say, this teams they're a little overrated. I like it when good teams or perceived good teams are overrated, like the Chargers. And then the Chiefs, they had a downer last game, but they're playing well. They played well in their losses, and they're down a running back, but they got their backup running back's pretty good. And the Chargers, I think they've been doing it with duct tape. I think they might, the Chargers' other cupcake they beat was Buffalo, who's I think everyone thinks is good, but they aren't. And then. So yeah, I think the Chiefs could win this game. I think it'll come down to close game. I think the Chiefs could win it.
Are the Dallas Cowboys suddenly overrated, Birdie? They're home to the New York Giants. The Cowboys are 6.5 point favorites. The total is 47.5. Cowboys underrated to start the season. A lot of wise guys like their regular season win total under 8, under 7.5 even. And now the Cowboys are a 6.5 point home favorites against the Giants, a team that closed a 1-point dog on the road against Philadelphia last Sunday. I found that interesting, that the Giants on a neutral field would have been favored over the Eagles.
I mean, Fezzik and all his friends said the Cowboys were the worst team. They said the Saints were the best team. He couldn't have been more wrong. Fezzik and his cronies on that seminar. I wasn't there, but that's what I heard he said. The Cowboys are. If you could get pressure Romo, he could be real bad. The Giants, I think, might be the worst team going though. Eli can't play at all, and then they simplified the offense for him, so he didn't have to make the tough throws, and they're still struggling. And I think that coach could wear thin on you if you're not winning. The Cowboys, I think the running back they have is awesome, and their line play is pretty good. I think they're down a lineman this week, but I still think that even though I think the Cowboys are overrated, I think they win this game. I think they cover the 6.5 in that one.
Arizona on the road against Oakland, Birdie. The Cardinals minus 3.5, minus $1.15. The total is 45.
Right, I'm on Arizona in this one. I think Carson Palmer's back, and I like what Arizona does defensively. The Raiders, real bad. I think they got some fool's gold last week, so some of the people are on them this week. I think more people are on the Raiders than are betting the Cardinals because they played well last week, and for some reason, they're like Linus in the pumpkin patch. They said, this time, but Lucy keeps pulling the ball away. I don't think the Raiders have any enough talent, and their quarterback plays shaky, and now they're coachless. So I'm going with Arizona.
Less than 5 minutes remaining in the program. You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with Matt Hatfield previewing Week 7 in the National Football League. We still have to get to the Sunday night and Monday night games. Plus, Birdie is going to give us a college football selection, the game he likes best on this Saturday's college football card. Here's a quick recap of quarterbacks taken in the first round of the 2005 NFL Draft. Compliments of our producer, Lawrence Lazarde. Alex Smith taking number 1 by the San Francisco 49ers. Matt Jones, remember him out of Arkansas, tall, angular quarterback, a very athletic Jacksonville, selected Matt Jones before Aaron Rodgers. Imagine that. He was the 21st pick. Then Aaron Rodgers went 24th to Green Bay. 25th, slot after Aaron Rodgers, Jason Campbell was the Auburn quarterback that year. He went to the Washington Redskins in 2005.
Well, there's two guys that stink. I mean, they're 6'5". Oh, Jason Campbell's 6'5". He stinks. Matt Jones was 6'5" or 6'6" even. You don't want those guys. It's 6'5" or 6'6". Your point guard, which is a quarterback, you want him 6'1".
We've had that argument for years. I like the tall guys. I like the Mannings and the Bradys, guys who stand tall in the pocket. Flacco stands tall in the pocket. I like big guys at the quarterback spot, see over the line and see the job to get done. But Birdie likes the smaller, more mobile guys, and certainly Russell Wilson fits that category and fit it beautifully last season. Birdie,
Breeze, Rogers, Montana, Flutie.
Denver home to San Francisco. You had to get Flutie in there, did you?
Yeah, but it's just ever. I just saw the special on the NFL Network. He got 6 MVPs in Canada. Probably would have had a couple in the NFL if they didn't cheat him out of a career.
Denver home to San Francisco. The Broncos -7, minus $1.05. The total is 49.5.
Right. I like. If the 49ers, I think they get some of their suspended players back. Manning could look so bad if you just put a little bit of pressure on him. And I love, Harbaugh's a way better coach than Fox. I mean, you got the best coach. You couldn't find more of a coaching mismatch in this game. We got the best coach with Harbaugh in football against the worst coach with Fox.
Less than a minute left, Birdie. Just the selections now. Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh hosting Houston. Steelers -3, minus $1.20. The total 44.5.
Houston in that one.
So his 5 Westgate plays: the Chicago Bears, the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Houston Texans. Your best bet in college football, Birdie.
I think Hawaii beat San Diego outright. San Diego State.
Betting number 405, take Hawaii plus the points. Take them on the money line, too, says Birdie. They went outright against San Diego State, a 7:30 kickoff there in San Diego. That'll wrap up our fast-moving program. For Railbird, I'm John Kelly. Thanks for listening to the EOG Sports Hour. Our conversation continues at EOG.com.